Hello, dear friends. This is Your Thought, Your Life, 30 Days of Inner Journey. It's based on the book Thought in Life by the Spirit Emmanuel through the medium Chico Xavier. This book, as it says in the introduction, unlike other books that have prefaces, this book has an introduction. Why? Because it's like an educational book, a workbook, and not that the others aren't, but it's used in the schools of regeneration in the spiritual realm. As Emmanuel says here very beautifully, this request brought to our mind a simple series of spoken directives we use here in our work, instructions given in our schools of regeneration to those preparing for a new birth during their span of existence between the grave and the cradle. So we have been studying 11 chapters, and it's all about how our minds become the mirror. Our minds become the mirror of our lives. As we think, we emit and we attract reflexes, mental reflexes. It's like when you look at the water, you can see your own image. When we think, we're projecting it in the world, and we are creating what we're thinking. Believe it or not, that's what it is. And Emmanuel is disclosing to us these directives so we accomplish what we need to accomplish in this life, not only for the passing moment, but for immortality. We are entering, since yesterday, the second third of this book. The first is about the foundation of our minds, understanding a little bit about its physiology. Now we're talking about the significance of being born in the flesh, incarnation, and today it's about family. Ooh, family. Chapter 12, the family. But before we read the chapter and deepen our understanding and the explanation, the interpretation of it all, let us say hi to our friends. And here is Josara. Hey, Josara. Long time no see you, huh? We just had a beautiful time with Josara in Washington, D.C. Beautiful service. Her talk on Spiritist view of suicide, life and death, and a lot about family she talked. Really touched many people's hearts, all of our hearts. And then the second part was about the fraternal counseling and the passes. And thank you, Josara. It was beautiful. And Valeria, by the way, let me ask you, are you in Brazil now? Because the time zone is really like 3 hours apart. Wow. Adilson and Solange, Rita de Cássia, Tânia, yeah, Jussara, Melissa, and Rihanna. You know, Rihanna, about the email, we're double checking with the webmasters at Kardec Radio. If possible, just send it to us directly, kardecradio@gmail.com. because our contact form in the website is being double checked, okay? Hello, sunshine. Really early, Valeria. Mamma mia, it's really the dawn in Brazil. And guess who is here? Who is here? Family? Family.
Hello, friends. It's nice to be amongst family members.
And Carrie's ready to sing to you. Yeah, you know, it's good to study with a light heart. You know, some people think that studying seriously is about being uptight and loosen it up a little bit. You know, science shows to us that we learn much better when we're relaxed. So, relaxation response being triggered, breathing in and out, as Dr. Herbert Benson said. No wonder Jesus was a smiling master. He smiled. He was kind and loving. What a learning experience. For the longest time we thought otherwise. Yet I remember in this life, a while ago when I thought that to be serious was to be, you know, it's not true. It's not worthwhile, right? As Tanya is saying, you know, we're a blessed spiritual family, and Valéria saying hi to you. Valéria Benfica,
Yes, I remember her.
right?
She's always in my heart.
Yeah, she carries saying you're always in her heart, Valéria. Yes, Jussara is spiritual family, and Jussara is getting to the very point what we're studying today. Really, Kai saying she's ready to the singing, Carol, for the singing. Ready, family? Let's talk about family then. Let's listen the directives that are brought to us through Emmanuel and Chico Xavier. Chapter 12, the family. Family relationships can be considered an important basis of our mental reflexes. Such reflexes can be pleasant or unpleasant according to what the past brings back to us. We do not, of course, include here spirits from elevated levels that pioneer evolution. When brought to dwell in a commonplace environment, they quickly overcome it by creating a mental climate of their own. They then proceed with the task of renewal that they came to accomplish. Instead, we refer here to the more common and ordinary situations of mankind. Everyone is temporarily adjusted to a range of ability that is within their own capability to develop. In other words, each one can only gradually reach beyond the mental reflexes set for themselves. A primitive person does not suddenly leave the environment of their hut. They are reborn there many times. This also happens to a fairly civilized person who will have to dwell a long time in the same social plane. Here, they assimilate the experiences they need until their progress warrants proceeding to different achievements. The spirit reincarnates in the same sphere of their family relationships and meets again the links they had woven for themselves according to the thread of their thoughts and inclinations. What is referred to as psychologically hereditary, therefore, is in a way due to the natural gathering of spirits of the same inclinations and activities. Sometimes, a great artist or a prominent hero may be born into an environment that is unlike their predominant attributes. The qualities of a genius have been patiently developed through the ages. They come to stamp the mental reflexes of their individuality for a creative and very important task. Usually, however, it is the home environment that brings together a group that reflects one another. A family of musicians will more easily gather friends of the same divine art. Often, spirits who reincarnate as children of that family are the same companions who stimulated its musical vocations when still in the spirit world. They continue to reflect each other in their activities throughout many centuries. This also applies to sculptors and poets, politicians and physicians, businessmen and farmers. They often have ties of affection and repeatedly share the same family genes. Thus, by working together through the law of rebirth, they maintain the evolutionary acquisitions through which they express themselves in space and time. Likewise, and by the same principle of attunement and attraction, alcoholics and kleptomaniacs, as well as delinquents and the morally sick, are born to those with whom they have spiritual affinity. They share their mutual deficiencies and painful trials. Many whose minds are unbalanced become drawn to the generic field of those whose company attracts them. This affinity is caused either by feelings of a lower nature or by guilty deeds for which they are indebted before the law. The law. Moral degeneration in families, therefore, is the result of collective debts that place us within a sickly genetic environment. It is a situation we deserve in our responsibilities with life and the world. Thus, we're compelled to endure the painful return of the toxic mental reflexes we have produced. Our relatives become the agents of this process, and they return such toxins to us in the form of affliction and pain. Therefore, in our family group, we have both the links of happiness we have been able to build through the love we expressed and the fetters of constraint and animosity. These chains come from the disturbing vices we fashioned in our destiny's memory and which we need to undo. These being a task that involves work and self-sacrifice as well as patience and humility. These are new resources for the production of spiritualized mental reflexes that are capable of erasing the effects of previous troubled and unfortunate conduct. Emmanuel. Wow. This is like, when you have a concentrated juice, you need to dilute it in the waters of understanding. In this form, it's pretty hard for us because we don't have this inner mechanism yet automatically. That's why we are together, all of us here, plus the loving spirit teachers. They're the ones who help us understand what we find it hard to understand, okay? But let's, before, as we're breathing in and out and like, going back to the field, let's say hi, Angelita and Rita. Yes, we're family. Karina, Francisca Cruz and Hermine. Oh, right? Thank you, Rita. She's saying, you guys are family to me, good souls embracing my life and heart. You bet. And these are not mere words. We're committed. Each and every day, we are awakening deeper and deeper to the fact that we need to be committed to one another. Yes. And as Jussar said to us today, we needed to kind of counter-condition ourselves, as we say behaviorally, to avoid being judgmental, which is hard because it's a habit we have created through many lives. But the counter-conditioning can be done with the creation of new habits. So how can I stop being judgmental? By feeling compassion. So, for example, when we analyze a situation, we still wrap up in compassion. Even when people are messing up, we are not supposed to sentence them inside of us. And that's a good rule of thumb when we want to live in family. And we have to. In the Spirit's book by Allan Kardec, Kardec asks, what's gonna happen if we just break the ties, you know, of a family, starting with the heads of the people who are the head of the family? We are going to, in a way, go back to the animal kingdom in a way. We need family life to really progress. Law of society. We are social beings, and if we feel like not living together, we need to work it out. Because these social skills are imperative for us to really gain emotional skills, social skills, emotional skills, spiritual skills. Okay? So here we have our dear Dione talking about family, the Correias in Baltimore. Dione, Luísio, Vanessa, and Patricia. Thank you, friend. Yeah, it's a chapter that we really need to dive in deeply. Let's not forget, this book, Thought in Life, comes as directives for us to succeed in this incarnation, in reincarnations, in the physical realm as immortal spirits. So, for you and I, we need to open our hearts and ears to make sure that we absorb things we've never thought about. Okay? Hi, Gione. Ready, friends? Let's go to the very beginning of this chapter. It's very important for us to make sure that we absorb things that we haven't absorbed yet. Oh, yeah, I know family is important. Yes, we know. Check. We know we can learn a lot about patience and tolerance. Check. But what don't we know about the dynamics of family that is important for us to know and succeed? Emmanuel begins this chapter in a very particular way. Family relationships can be considered an important basis of our mental reflexes foundation. Such reflexes can be pleasant or unpleasant according to what the past brings back to us. If we go back to the first chapter, Emmanuel says that as we think, we project and it reflects, okay? Our minds, as he says at the very beginning, is the mirror of life. And he says, mental reflexes set the stage for the reaction of emotions. Reaction of emotions create ideas. Ideas determine attitudes and words that command our actions. So now, this is chapter 1. Now in chapter 12, he begins by saying that within the family relationships, we're gonna have our foundation for these mental reflexes that will set the stage for our emotions. Emotions will then create ideas. Ideas will set us up for attitudes, words, and then actions. So when we look at the actions, we want to go to the root of it all, and then we go back. Actions, words, attitudes, ideas, emotions, mental reflexes. Mental reflexes, the flux of the mind, we influencing one another. Influencing one another and each other. Do you think you are invulnerable to people's choices in life? Because that's an illusion. That's the first therapeutic moment for us. Do we feel that what others do and feel and think is something that does not actually impact on us? Because according to what the Spirit reveal and even traditional science, we are very susceptible to each other's mental field. Emotionally speaking, it's very hard to find a moment in which we're not feeling the emotions of others? Can we shield ourselves and feel less what other people are feeling? Yes, that's the goal of life. To master this inner emotional intelligence is about monitoring what we feel and what others feel, knowing the difference between what we feel and they feel, and the third, knowing what to think and to do according to those informations. So you see how far we are from being like super intelligent, and I'm not saying you, but just on earth. On earth, we are far from being like super intelligent, emotionally speaking. We barely know what we're feeling. And imagine, as if we could tell, let alone what others are feeling and the difference. Often we get confused, like, is it me or is it others? Often we don't know the difference. And that's because science doesn't even consider another element that Spiritism will bring to the plate. Emotionally intelligent to the point that you know what you're feeling and discarnate spirits are feeling. Even though you're not in a stance of medium, you may feel the difference. Oh, something's going on here because I'm picking up a vibe. And it may come from somewhere else, not necessarily the one in the physical realm, an incarnate person. So we have a lot. And you know, if you are surprised with the definition of emotional intelligence given in 1990s by social psychologists, I tell you this, don't be surprised to the point you're like, you feel you're never gonna get a hold of it, because it all begins with awareness. We can little by little conquer this realm of the emotions and the feelings by being aware, asking ourselves, what are you feeling? What are you thinking? What are you feeling and what are you thinking? Asking ourselves, observing ourselves. Once we master observation, we can start managing it, taming it. But I need to know what it is. Observe, what is it? What a strange feeling, awkward feeling. So we need to study the dictionary of emotions because it exists already. Go to harnessinghappiness.com. There's a material named Onion Head Cards and Onion Head Dictionary. It talks about the different names. It's important to name emotions. It's important to do this exercise, okay? So, family, basis of mental reflexes. And André Luiz, in another book, Mecanismos da Mediunidade, Mechanisms of Mediumship, yet to be published in English. That book, he says, most often than not, children are the mirror images of their parents. And not only physically, but he's talking about emotional, spiritual attitude in life. And Amen is going to explain why. Why? Because some are so different. Why are they different? Why are we alike? Where does it all come from? But did you come to the conclusion that you and I are susceptible to each other's feelings and thoughts? That's the number one, identifying our vulnerability, our susceptibility, so we can work on it. We do not, of course, include here spirits from elevated levels that pioneer evolution, because very evolved spirits, or more evolved, no matter what happens in the family, they're above it. Look at Jesus as the top. Look at Chico Xavier. That's why some people are born in a family of criminals, they don't become criminal. I've heard some people saying, oh, but I don't understand. There are people who are born in families of criminals, they don't become criminals. So I think that child is really lazy because their family members are not even criminals, and look at their lives, they're trashing themselves out. So what is on the behind the scenes of it all? What is it? Let's keep absorbing the new. Because what we know, but we don't want to confirm the confirmation of what we've been studying this far. We want more, right? We want more. Right, Carol?
We
want more. We want more. We want more. Right, Carol?
Yeah, right.
We want more.
Absolutely.
Instead, we refer here to the more common and ordinary situations of mankind. This chapter is dedicated to those, all of us, who are in need of overcoming these commonplace necessities. Everyone is temporarily adjusted to a range of ability that is within their own capability to develop. In other words, each one can only gradually reach beyond the mental reflexes set for themselves. That's what we're talking about. We want more. We want more. We don't want to stay in the comfort zone, right, Carol?
Right.
No comfort zone. Yeah, it's intense when we feel like we go to sleep and our bodies are tired and inside we're happy. We went beyond an extra mile today. Okay? We don't want to stay in the comfort zone, friends. We don't want to escape from facing the things we need to face. How do you deal with emotions that are difficult when we're facing things that will tell us about who we are? Courage. Breathe in and out and say, you know what? I'm learning. That doesn't define me. This is an opportunity for me. So, a primitive person does not suddenly leave the environment of their hut. And even Andre Lewis in the book Evolution in Two Worlds, which is hopefully coming about soon in English, he tells us that the people who are at primitive levels of evolution, when they discarnate, they stay so close to the tribe, to that little circle, and they quickly come back because there's not much to do in between. So we need to come back and come back quickly until we create a different consciousness, and we can use that time in between reincarnations to expand the realm of our understanding, the work of our feelings too. Hello, Rose. Good evening. And here, they are reborn there many times in the same circle, a primitive person. This also happens to a fairly civilized person who will have to dwell a long time in the same social plane. So it's very likely that many of us keep coming back in similar circles. And that's why sometimes we become very tribal, which is not very good. You know what is to be very tribal? That's a feeling. It's when we have that feeling, that ethnocentric feeling, that feeling that what is ours is better than others. What we do and what we think is better than others, what they do and what they think. That's a very tribal feeling, like my tribe is better than other tribes. And it's interesting, I was showing to Jussar and then Karen Mark, we were discussing about this book that I got through the experience with Virginia, we were in the library and she picked a book, My Little Pony book, and said, Mom, can you read it for me? And what a book, because it shows exactly this. The three ponies pretending they had three different kingdoms and they were competing with one another. Who was the owner of Poniesville? And they were so competitive that it shows in the picture and in the little text that soon came a horse, they call like the spirit, right? Spirit that feeds on hatred, named Windigo. And it froze the three ponies. They were frozen. And it says, because it feeds itself on hatred. The minute the ponies were frozen, they felt the trap. And they were like, oh no, I didn't mean. They understood what was happening. They said, I didn't mean, I like you, you're my friend. Let's be friends. And the minute they started opening their hearts, like a purple light came from above, like in the form of a heart, and defrost them, and they became friends. They realized there was no reason for competition. And Windigo, the spirit that was feeding himself of hatred, went away. Precisely what we're studying here. How long are we gonna keep ourselves in these tribal feelings, ethnocentric feelings, that my things are better than others, my family is better than others, and my nationality is better than others, and the cultural habits that I have is better than others? How long are we gonna keep ourselves in these primitive feelings, these very tribal feelings? Where do you think you are? Let's go deeper into this inner journey. 0 to 10. 0 being like, I am really doing bad at this. I'm very ethnocentric. And 10, no, I'm becoming more multicultural. And multicultural not only about in this life, but the lives to come. Not only in this life, not only in this planet. It's not about Earth versus other planets, because it's like Star Wars. Then we keep feeding these tribal feelings now in these wars between a planet to another. It's it's all about this tribal feeling. We need to work it out. Where do we think we are? Exactly. Melissa is saying here, thank you, Melissa, tribalism equals to protectionism. Yes, sometimes we're so in need of preserving ourselves that we go overboard and become too ethnocentric. So what can I do to avoid it? The antidote to ethnocentrism? Opening our minds to the new. Studying the new. Yes. If it's a culture, study that culture that is different and see the advantages of that culture. And if not a culture but a religion, study the beauty of that religion. And if it's not about a culture or religion but about a habit, people having different strategies in their lifestyles. Well, they like to tie their shoes this way and I like this other way. Let me see the advantages of doing this. And enjoy the ride. Enjoy. And like immigrants, right? We, as Sunshine is saying, we have an opportunity to open up. But as Melissa is saying, fear is behind it. Exactly. And usually families tend to reinforce it. Are we reinforcing those feelings? In the United States, we have the habit, because out of fear, and it's growing in many countries, to teach about strangers. Mentor Joseph never allowed us to teach that to Virginia. And I'm not saying that we just allow her to go with everybody, but he said, it's instinctive. They know. You just say, keep yourself here. near us, but teaching them to look at people from a friendly perspective. So every time we go to a playground, since she's a baby, let's see who is there. Let's see who are the friends we're gonna meet there. And actually we didn't have any friends, but we know deep inside we're children of God. So now she's like, oh mom, the other day she was like, oh mom, oh, there are no friends here in the playground today. Not necessarily her friends, but children. And every time encouraging, like, let's meet the new people, because it's so strange that even in the school system, parents pretend they don't see other parents. They pretend they don't see the other kids of other parents, as if our kids didn't influence one another. And that's crazy. That's crazy. Because my child is influencing yours and yours is influencing mine. We better care for each other. We better know one another and support one another, because inevitably my child will either make your life easier or more troubled, and vice versa. So come on, let us change that dynamic, shall we? Let us. How can we do it? Doing our part. Smiling, saying hi, not necessarily explaining anything, but doing our part. Praying for one another, hoping that we can be beneficial to each other. When we keep reincarnating at a certain level, the same social plane, we assimilate the experiences that we need until the progress assures us that we can proceed to different achievements. So some people ask, Vanessa, how long am I going to be reincarnating in the same circle? The answer is here. Until we learn the lessons, and then we're going to adventure in other achievements, other experiences. So if we keep postponing and resisting, you bet reincarnation, we already know. You know, it's like chess game. It's like chess game. You move one piece, and for those who are aware, you can already see the end of the game and what's going to happen next. So why postpone? Why just keep repeating? Read the book Sex and Destiny. 2 families, and in less than 200 years, all together, the entanglement of 2 families resisting the call of fraternity and brotherhood and the hardships. Let us free ourselves and say once and for all, I volunteer to be patient. I volunteer to be tolerant. I volunteer to be loving. I volunteer to be kind. I volunteer to sacrifice my ego so we can learn what we need to learn and move to the next lesson. Who wants to close this chapter and go to the next chapter? Raise your hand. Carol, she raised her hand. Yay! Pick me, pick me, pick me. Woo, next chapter, not tonight, tomorrow. Right? Because, yeah, a break. We are family.
I forgot all my sister, brothers, and me. We are family.
Yay, thank you, Carol. We are family. Na, 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 na. Yes, reincarnating. Yeah, reincarnating. The spirit reincarnates in the same sphere of their family relationships and meets again the links they have woven for themselves according to the thread of their thoughts and inclinations. So first thing we're learning here is, why am I born in this family? Don't worry about the deeds, he's saying. Thoughts and inclinations, because that's what we need to fix. Melissa's saying she loves you. Thank you. So friends, What thoughts and inclinations brought us to this family? Let's pick three. Pick three thoughts and inclinations that brought us to this current family. It doesn't need to be bad. Because we only think the negative. No. Why are we in this current family? What thoughts brought us to this? What inclinations brought us to this? Good or bad, he talks about a family of musicians together. Because you know why he's saying musician? Because it's about vibrations. Of all types of family, he's talking about a family of a musician. Because deep inside, we're all creating a particular set of vibrational tones in that family setting. There is a vibratory tone, as in the book of Liberation by André Luiz. We got the explanation. We as individuals have a particular vibratory tone that we change as we evolve. And as a family, there is a particular vibratory tone. What is it that belongs to us, that intersects with us? We're not 100% similar, but there is a major intersection. You remember when we studied this, and forgive me, but I'm going to pick up a pen and draw here. It's like a circle. Us and the family, more or less. Of course, it would be beautiful if you were like this. Usually it's not. But in this intersection, we're going to find the commonalities, thoughts and inclinations that brought us to this, the needs of being here. We need to identify. It's not about the names of previous lives, what we do. It's about thoughts, inclinations. Where are we alike? Good and not so good. So we can work together on this. Right? As Rita DiCasio is saying, learning with each other. That's the reason why he's telling us what is referred to as psychological hereditary, therefore is in a way due to the natural gathering of spirits of the same inclinations and activities. In the Spirits book by Allan Kardec, we learn about the Spiritist definition of affinity when we are sympathetic and antipathetic. It's all about similar inclinations, tendencies, abilities, goals in life. Okay? And when we change it, we change the vibratory tone, and sometimes we're not going to be on the same page. So Tanya is asking, what is the lesson I have to learn with this family? That's a good question. What thing they have that reflect in myself? Exactly. What is it, Tanya? Beautiful questions. And that's why he now, for the next paragraphs, the next 3 paragraphs, he talks about a family of musicians. He says, because we are creating vibrations together. We are vibratory beings. We vibrate. Remember when Kardec asked, what is the definition of spirit in the Spirit's book? And the Spirit said, well, it's hard to define in your words, but I would say it's like a flame. So a family of flames. No wonder families become explosive. Right? So boom. Because it's like too much going on. And it is. And believe it or not, we're not talking only about the physical family. Because we never reincarnate with the physical family alone. There's always the spiritual family together. And as Kardec clarifies to us, amongst the spirits that are usually accompany us, there are at least 4 other types. The protecting spirits that are more elevated than us, they never complicate our lives. They always help us, but they never impose themselves on us. The second type of spirits that are often with us are family spirits. And these are the ones that have history with us, that usually like us, but not necessarily like the other people who are with us. And that's when, and sometimes because they're not very evolved, they can be more evolved than us. Sometimes not much more evolved, they can complicate our lives. Read the book Sex and Destiny, or listen to it at KardecRadio.com. Right. Francisco Kranz-McKenzie and Mel are doing fantastic work. Right, Carol?
Right. Fabulous.
Yeah, fabulous work reading and studying it. There you're going to see how family spirits can really, 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 really complicate. And not only them, but we also have spirits of sympathy, the affinity. They like what we like, not necessarily we have history together. We like reading, they like reading. We like studying spiritism, they like studying spiritism. But some like things that are not very evolved and that we do as well, like slandering, like drinking, smoking, and they can complicate our lives. And then the third is the famous obsessors, poor obsessors. Of all different types, we always think they are to be blamed for everything, and not necessarily. We have to have compassion for them. Sometimes like, really, me? It's like this, there's a cute song, right, for children. Who took the cookie from the cookie jar? And we say, who took the cookie from the cookie jar? And then we say, panda. And the panda looks like, who, me? And everybody, yes, you, not me, then who? And then it's like, the penguin. It's like this game of the spirits who are to be blamed. Like, who did this in our lives? Who did this mess? And then the obsessors are like, who, me? No. It's the family spirit. And they're like, no. And then they confess, yeah, it's me. Yeah. That's pretty much how it goes by. The obsessors sometimes, they're so innocent. Because as they say, we don't have to do much to complicate people's lives. They find a way of complicating their lives on their own. And often other spirit friends who are not very evolved and are with us, they do the job. Sometimes by not liking the people whom we like and are in our lives. Yeah, that's how it is. But we are a family of musicians. We're creating music as we speak with our vibrations. So we better be very harmonious or strive for harmony. And he's saying this rule applies to any different type. So usually, he says, often our ties of affection, and we're going to be sharing genes because of the common abilities, the common tendencies, inclinations we have. By working together through the law of rebirth, they maintain the evolutionary acquisitions through which they express themselves in space and time. Let's talk about beautiful things that family can do together. Often we think of families as something that is a roadblock, but what about, he's saying here, we are reassuring ourselves that through the family line, we are creating beautiful acquisitions as well. Sculpting and business and good politics. And when we're talking about writers, musicians, and teachers, and scientists, and physicians, and everything, good things that we're acquiring in a family, to make sure that this interchange in the family solidifies that spiritual acquisition. Pause for a therapeutic moment. What have we learned as an immortal acquisition in the current family that we owe to the reinforcement of this family circle? Can I share something with you? I will say, for me, and not personal, but just as an example, okay? Spiritism. I was born in a Spiritist family, and I owe this, the knowing and the solidity of it, to this family acquisition. No, it's not a given. I can be born in a Spiritist family and not embrace it. But in my case, I owe it to my family because it was through that family experience that I decided I want to keep it for me. This is a good value for me that was reinforced within the family. And I owe to this family experience this treasure that I'm taking to immortality. Oh, family. Sweet family. What a blessing. Now, open a parenthesis here. As you're reflecting about at least one thing you acquired in this life or reinforced thanks to your family life. When you think of this, now think. What is going to happen to us in the next reincarnation if we don't spread this news to the world? People who are keeping this news of the Spiritist teachings only to their circle potentially will be reborn in a circle where Spiritism is not heard of. Can you imagine? If you were born in this life in a non-Spiritist family, you know what I'm talking about. Right, Carol?
Yes, absolutely.
You really, really, really feel that you could have gone to another level if you had that shortcut already there. So that's why Josiah Korngold reminded us today in Washington, D.C. of the greatest charity we can do, that Emmanuel mentioned, sharing these teachings. Share it. Share it. Because it's the only way we can secure also, and that's not selfishness, that we'll have that opportunity when we reincarnate. Hello, Eduardo e Mirella. Saudades. Yes, right? Finally, Emmanuel is beautifully asking us to reflect on the gift of being a family. He says, by working together through the law of rebirth, families maintain the evolutionary acquisitions through which they express themselves in space and time. Likewise, by the same principle of attunement and attraction, families who have bad habits also, are born amongst those with spiritual affinity to redeem themselves. And they go through mutual deficiencies and painful trials. There's a true account by Umberto de Campos in one of his books that are not yet in English. Beautiful, he says, of a father who has 4 sons. He raised them and gives them everything, but one day he's so painfully witnessing how they became delinquents in life. But he becomes a spiritist, and he gets to know that in a previous life, he was the one that taught them to be outlaws. They can't look at their children, his children, and say, how come you're giving me this hard time? It's coming back to us. So we need to work on it patiently. Patiently. Never giving up, but never carrying anybody in our arms, but empowering them. How do we empower family members who have a hard time? Mentor Joseph taught us a while ago. He said, visualize them past that difficult moment. Visualize them free of those addictions, free of those bad habits, beautiful and charitable and kind and strong and defined in life. We need to empower them from our thoughts and feelings so it becomes words and actions. I know parents who look at their children and say, "You only give me a headache. You only know how to do these things. I gave up my whole life to raise you and look what you give me." And we think we're giving them a gift by saying that. We're just pushing them to the abyss. The abyss of their lack of self-worth. We're not empowering them. Keep our words to ourselves. Change thoughts, change life. Visualize them, dear children of God. They are not our children. So instead of looking at them like they are my child, my possession, how come they are giving me this dishonor? There's no dishonor. They're not our children. We didn't create them. We look at them and we visualize a child of God. That's how we rescue our compassion and visualize them strong and empowered and charitable and kind and distributing their divine gifts to the world. That's how we're gonna help them and encourage them from our thoughts and feelings to words and actions. Liz Montenegro, oh my God, hello my friend, beautiful mom, beautiful daughter, proud of you, good job. Yes, empower her spirit. She's a child of God, counts on you as her tutor, yes, to raise her to God, right? Mentor Joseph says, see your child past that moment, because deep inside, this child is a child of God. Child of God, not yours, not mine. Child of God. So we need to take good care, but not super protecting, but guiding them to their own independence and maturity, telling them, like my parents always told me, Vanessa, remember, whatever you do, consequences. You're gonna have the consequence. So they never super protected me. They were always like empowering. And to date, they say, you can do it. Go ahead. And I owe them the greatest of my gratitude, because they never made me feel I am not capable. They never incited pride. On the contrary, they kept always grounding me, like, Vanessa, humility. Vanessa, don't feed your vanity. And I said, I know I have to work on this, I have to work on this, I have to work on this. But always encouraging, saying, you will have to respond and take charge of your actions. Watch out. So true. So true. Right? Right, Carol? Finally. Can you tell if your child comes with any tendency? Don't feel guilty, because it doesn't serve a purpose, but feel like you're being called to tutor them to a new discovery, that they can do better than that. Yes, they are not stuck. Moral degeneration in families is the result of collective debts that places us within a sickly genetic environment. Okay? The genes are not the cause. They are the reflection of our mental habits. Yes. And they become the venue through which we express our thoughts and inclinations. It is a situation we deserve in our responsibilities with life and the world. Thus, we are compelled to endure. What do we do when we are living in a family that has a lot of moral degeneration? Endure the painful return of the toxic mental reflexes we have produced. Take responsibility, no self-pity, no pity party. No pity party. If you were planning a pity party, cancel. Let's cancel the pity party because it's not gonna work. No pity party. Oh, yeah. Let's do a party of compassion. Throw a party to ourselves and say, you know what? We are going to look at our family and say, where have I contributed with this toxicity here? Because we attract what we emit. Oh, man, Mentor Joseph, I got it. I got it. He is saying, as Emmanuel is explaining, he is giving us a tool here. What is it that you dislike in your family? You know, we only recognize what we know. Because you cannot recognize something you don't know. So if we know something and we recognize it, it's because it's inside of us. So then the first thing is reconcile with yourself. Saying, wow, maybe I've taught my family members how to be like this. And now I'm suffering the consequences. Now, I'm going to take charge and say, you know what? I forgive myself. Abuse. Abuse in relationships. I'm being abused. So then I think, it's likely I was abused in the past because I'm attracting something I emitted. Does it mean you're going to surrender to abuse? No. But I'm not going to look at it from the perspective of a victim. I'm going to look at it to finish that chapter saying, you know what? Now I know how it feels. And first of all, raise my thoughts to everyone, not out of guilt, but out of consciousness, saying, I'm sorry to every single person that went through abuse through me in previous lives. And now I'm going to learn to love and to be kind to this person in the name of everything I did in an abusive manner. Okay? That's how it is. We need to realize it. And he says, endure the painful return. Our relatives become the agents of this process and they return such toxins, he says, quote unquote, to us in the form of affliction and pain. Blessed are the afflicted, though, says the gospel according to Spiritism. Blessed are the afflicted. You know why? Because when you are in that stage, it means you are redeeming yourself. You're expunging those memories of things we've done and are not filtered well in our spiritual body. And we're saying, wow, now I know how it hurts. What have I caused in other people's lives before? Wow, it really hurts. And look at the person who is being the instrument of their affliction with compassion, saying, if they just knew that tomorrow they're gonna go through this, they would stop compassion, saying, if they just knew it's not worthwhile going through this route. Compassion. There's no worse judge or harsh judge the harshest is in our conscience. It's not external. That one is really, really, really strict. We can do things, you know, like when you're driving, like there's no police around. Yeah, but you bet when you least expect it's going to show up, so you better behave. And deep inside, yeah, go wild in illusions, and then one day, boom, police, and arrested. And Emmanuel says sometimes because of a minute of unconsciousness, we spend centuries in the jail of our guilt, of our sorrows. It's not worthwhile. That's why I forgive me. I need to reconcile first with me and then have compassion also for the people who are being used as instruments of these toxins. Right? Yes, friends. I know, Liz. Yeah, 10 months old baby. Beautiful. I know. You know, take a look, Liz, at the spiritisparenting.org website. We have videos and tips, and there's a Facebook page, Spirit is Parenting. Go there because there we're often giving opportunities to share insights and help one another. We need to support one another, as we were talking to Karen, Mark, and Josar, and Carlos today. It's the hardest mission, and it's the most important, parents. And we need to support each other and to mentally send each other this spiritual support, because it's vital to create a new society. Okay, count on us, count on our support. Rihanna, you're right. Prayer as guidance. Prayer, prayer, prayer. Now, finally, it's already January 16th. We in the United States celebrate a most special life. Martin Luther King Jr.'s life. A person that also was a missionary in this life. He was the heir of a beautiful family, but also very different. And he brought to us a new consciousness, a new level of consciousness to the earth, not only to the United States. And wherever he is, we owe him the greatest, the highest levels of gratitude, freeing us from our own prejudices. We have prejudices inside of us. Emmanuel wraps up this beautiful chapter about the foundation of our lives. Many of our thoughts and feelings are founded in our family. He says, therefore, in our family group, we have both the links of happiness we have been able to build through the love we expressed, and the fetters of constraints and animosity. Both sides. These chains come from disturbing vices we fashioned in the past, and this being a task that involves work and self-sacrifice, patience and humility. Read the book Renunciation by Emmanuel. In that book, in the main character, Alcyone, we're going to find the inspiration on how we deal with family, work, self-sacrifice, patience, and humility. These are new resources for the production of spiritualized mental reflections that are capable of erasing the effects of previous troubled and unfortunate conduct. So he's saying, if we want to erase those past reflexes and create new beautiful ones, we need work, self-sacrifice, patience, and humility. Work, self-sacrifice, patience, and humility. Work, self-sacrifice, patience, and humility. Friends, it's about time. Don't give up on your family. Breathe in and out. Sometimes as the music Let It Go says. You know, it's funny how some distance makes everything seem small. So it's important to give some distance sometimes, but never give up. Let go of the ego. Let it go, let it go. Yeah, because, you know, we learn even in the beautiful song as we wrap up, in the movie and the play, Les Miserables, right? Yes, by Victor Hugo. You know, in the epilogue, they say, when we love another person, we see the face of God. Yes, it's when we love another person that we'll see the face of God because we have clear conscience. Don't escape the circle of family because of the afflictions we have created. The toxins, as Emmanuel says, come back to us because we've created them. Now, rejoice, like Jesus said to Bartholomew, right, Carol?
Right.
And said, rejoice, renew yourself in the waters of the company of the good spirits, and breathe in and out and say, you know, visualize harmony in your family. Let us close our eyes and visualize harmonious ties between us and family members. Breathe in, and we feel harmony in our family. Breathe out. Only love takes place. Breathing in, harmony, respect, mutual respect. Breathing out, letting go of the impositions of the ego. Breathing in, harmony, patience, work, humility, self-sacrifice. And we visualize all the knots being untied and vibrations of godly sent love harmonizing our relationships. Remember, visualize the good. Emmanuel says, feel the good and work on it and mold your life to it. Begins in our thoughts. We want our families to be harmonious. Visualize it, feel it, mold ourselves to it, invest on it, never giving up. Respecting people's rights, but visualizing unity, harmony, mutual respect, love. Is it worthwhile? Yes. Self-sacrifice, work, patience, and humility. Shall we? Yes. What a beautiful day. Family. Family, freedom, equality, tolerance. Martin Luther King Jr., the role model of tolerance for us, equality of rights and feelings of brotherhood in our universal family too. Big kiss, hug of gratitude, and Carol Correa saying,
All the hearts that are part of our family.
and it's when we love one another that we'll see the face of God. Until later tonight at 11 p.m.